Hulk with Edward Norton. And with that in mind, I was coming into this year with an open mind to see both franchises and just be willing to see both of them in theaters and just see them both unfold with how they're going to develop each story. However, like a lot of comic book movie fans, we weren't we were a little shocked when, not really shocked, but we were really surprised seeing the negativity that Batman vs. Superman was getting, especially when we all wanted it to reach $1 billion and it fell almost $150 less of that. I mean, it's still a great film, and at this point, it doesn't really matter that it didn't make $1 billion. It's still a great film, and it was a huge box office success regardless, despite its phenomenal drop in its second weekend or whatever it was. But, so again, we were all kind of wary then. And then 6 weeks later happened with Civil War. And prior to Civil War's release, they had stated that they got the idea to do the Civil War movie off of the announcement of Dawn of Justice. And that just kind of blared a red light in my head, especially since if you look at the history of both comic book franchises, I'll admit they both have a history of copying one after the other, but Marvel's track record is a little longer than DC's track record, so that just kind of put like a red light in my head, thinking, oh no, what's this film going to be like? So I tried my best to I did my absolute best keeping an open mind, seeing this movie. I decided to, see it as the 13th Marvel Cinematic Universe film, the film that introduced Phase 3 and the third installment to Captain America. Needless to say, I was kind of glad I did not see that in theaters. I was kind of glad I kind of got... my friend rented the movie and we just kind of saw it together, sort of thing, because turns out that they were pretty well spot on when they said that they got inspiration to do Civil War off of Dawn of Justice. And everybody at first kind of defended, well, there was a Civil War comic book that came out years ago, so they might be basing off of that. Well, I'm getting feedback recently saying that's not really 100% true. The Civil War storyline in the comic books had way more detail. It wasn't just Tony versus Steve Rogers. There was a whole lot of stories involved with it that affect the whole Marvel comic book universe, not just the Avengers and splitting up the two into one side versus the other. Seeing it, I was kind of curious, like, how come after 13 movies in, the concept of humans and the civilians and the destruction of all the cities are just now being brought into the plot? Whereas, again, back with Man of Steel, the first DC Extended Universe movie, that was a factor right then and there. So why is it that 13 films in, again, 8 years into your series, the concept of humans being victimized with your actions is just now being brought in? That kind of just felt like I was seeing Dawn of Justice all over again. The fact that they called it Civil War and there was no dead casualties whatsoever. In the trailers, you thought Rhodey would have died, but instead he just ended up getting a broken leg that Iron Man fixed easily. The whole involvement with the government, the bombing of the building, kind of, again, seemed a little too familiar. The fact that it was a billionaire whose parents had died and he was seeking vengeance, where it was a superpowered being who... Never mind, I was about to say who saw the right side of humanity, but... I don't know, Captain America Civil War, if it was ever a Captain America movie, and I guess part 3 of the Captain America trilogy, it proved to me that the whole Captain America trilogy storyline is basically saying that Steve Rogers is this rebellious asshole, which you can kind of see in the first Avenger when he's picking a fight with 2 people that are way bigger than him. And even in the Winter Soldier, where it's S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s the one that gave him the powers. Tony's father, if not grandfather, is the one that gave him the superpowers, believing that he was the selfless person that America needed, let alone the human race needed. And then Civil War kind of just shat on that instantly. How, I don't know, I thought it was kind of funny. If there was ever a blink if you miss it continuity thing that the Phase 3 was doing with Phase 2 cinematic universe, it's the line in Age of Ultron when Steve says to, if you die, just walk it off. And how the beginning 5 minutes of Civil War was just a blowing up of the embassy by Scarlet Witch. And instead of getting in any sort of trouble or any sort of discipline like anybody should, they just flat out walked it off. Like, the whole American embassy blew up, casualties were involved, innocent human beings died because of a simple mistake of somebody putting the bomb in the wrong area, and the entire Avengers party just kind of like just sigh in relief and just walk it off. Kind of seems like he's living up to his word about walking off dead things. The fact that Tony Stark had to be the one to take the bluff for it, for the woman in the elevator, was kind of, you know, from starting off from Iron Man 1, you definitely see a change in Tony Stark wanting to better himself and wanting to not be a casualty of war. That's why he became Iron Man. That's why the whole War Peace thing was brought up in Iron Man 2, which I guess is one of the closest things to the human beings and being involved in the whole cinematic universe, 13 films in sort of thing. And just how he didn't feel like there was a difference between him and Iron Man in the third movie, to the point that he just kamikazes all the suits except for, I guess, the ones that he keeps building afterwards, which almost doesn't make any sense after that. But you see a change in character with him where he wants to stop conflict. That's why he made Ultron in the first place, even though apparently in the comic books that's not what happened. Whereas, again, Steve, he's kind of the rebellious guy. He picks fights. He just goes by his own rules. S.H.I.E.L.D. is the people that made him. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s the people that got him out of the ice when he did that suicide mission in the first Captain America. And like in Civil War, when he's unfrozen and everything, the thing that he does instantly is just make S.H.I.E.L.D. get shut down. Like, he can't agree with their motives. He feels like they're lying to him behind his back. And just in response, he just shuts them down because he feels like they're corrupt. However, the end of the film just kind of does a whole pot calling the kettle black hypocrite move. And he's now lying to S.H.I.E.L.D., hiding his best friend, locking him up under the basement of the Avengers base. So now he's lying to them about a danger, whereas the whole, let's just say 2 hours of the film before that, part of his plot line was feeling like S.H.I.E.L.D. did that and they were corrupt, but apparently if it's his best friend, it's okay now. Don't get that. And the fact that, again, he didn't really punish Scarlet Witch for blowing up the embassy and killing up innocent lives for the, I guess, final straw of the government. But as soon as the government listed off a letter saying that the Avengers had to kind of be on a leash, instead of just simply, again, when I'm seeing this movie, I'm hearing that and I'm thinking, okay, this doesn't mean that this is a permanent thing. This is just because they just want you to prove that you're not as reckless as you guys have been. And who's to say that over time this whole on a leash thing won't be eradicated later on? But no, instead, instant gun, Captain America just says, fuck this, I'm not going to hold tied to the government. I mean, I don't care if they're all mad at me. I don't care if they send my own teammates against me. I'm not going to do this just because I don't want to do it. So not only is he not punishing somebody for, again, killing innocent people, now he's pissed off that the said punishment is going in existence. So he's rebellious, but isn't the fact that he was loyal one of the reasons why he became Captain America and the first Avenger in the first place? And I'm sorry, if the whole purpose of the Captain America trilogy is just to say that Captain America didn't deserve to become Captain America in the first place, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of the trilogy, and it just makes me feel like I just watched the whole thing for nothing. It makes me feel like the scientist was not accurate with this thing, that the death was just, oh shit, there's no going back now. And it just seemed like fate was just working in Steve Rogers' asshole mindset favor. Like, he really did not deserve the super soldier technology that was given to him back in World War II. I don't know, I felt like the fight scene was kind of, I felt like the whole story was kind of ridiculous, aside from the fact that it felt like Marvel's version of Dawn of Justice, which again, they admitted to saying that that's what they were doing. And I think the entire slap to the face was that at the end of the film, it seemed like they just, Tony and Steve just kind of apologized to each other. And I don't know if I was just dazing out and I just saw the screen at the wrong time, but it looked like that whole letter was just a decoy just to escape his followers in said prison cell. It seemed like the last clip was him breaking out his teammates after he just said to Tony, "Here you go, it's your team anyway." So again, he's not even being honest with his final words. Then again, people are saying that it was an apology, and the two guys just brushed it off, and the whole 2.5-hour movie where they were conflicting the whole time just basically got eradicated. So not only was it a revamp of DC's Dawn of Justice, it was really just a filler episode just for nothing. And I think the true ultimate slap to the face is that Dawn of Justice got a 27%, whereas 6 weeks later, the same film happens with just a different company, and it gets a 90%. And it's way less of a plot. It doesn't hold any true value to the comic books other than keeping the name of said characters, but it gets worshipped. I never mind the fact that it got over $1 billion. That doesn't really matter to me. It's the fact that obviously whoever voted thumbs up or thumbs down on both movies, if they were the same person or not, something does not make sense there. And I think going back to the negativity, the surprise negativity that Dawn of Justice got, I don't think that really sat well with a lot of said comic book fans that were really looking forward and really liked Dawn of Justice. So by the time the summer came on, it was a whole debate online about that, and like a month before Suicide Squad came on, everybody was saying that this might get a bad rating too, just because it's DC and just because Dawn of Justice did. And next thing you know, it got a 1% lower rating than Dawn of Justice did, with a 26%. However, both films ended up outgrossing one didn't outgross the expectations, but everybody thought Suicide was going to bomb, destroy the DCAU series, that it'd be lucky if it made $350 million in box office, or $400 million in box office. Next, it kind of does both of those combined, and he makes a whopping $745 million worldwide, becoming the second highest grossing DC extended universe movie, and just kind of shutting out a lot of negativity that was brought before the film. So the negativity, unlike beforehand in March, did not affect the film's performance. And then at that point, or over time after that, I just kind of realized that I was basically done with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I was done with all Marvel together. I'm a fan of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. I was okay with the Sam Webb ones. The first two Fantastic Fours were pretty good. The last one, 2015, not so much. But, I mean, after that ass-backwards criticism and hypocrisy in said criticism, I was basically done with the whole cinematic universe, because the fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe were not helping, and they were kind of being, dare I say it, very, very childish with rubbing it in, even though we were constantly, you know, I felt like it was basically a fight between preschoolers and people just trying to say, give this a chance. So basically, by late October, I was like, okay, I'm done with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm not really going to see any more in theaters. I mean, if anything, I might rent them long after they just got released into the DVDs. I'm pretty much, you know, I guess with that being said, I guess I'm pretty much done with all Marvel and all that too. Just because it just seems like the fan base, let alone the hypocrisy in the media, just seems to be worshiping this one just for the sake of just because, and just bashing DC just because it's trying to have a fighting chance. Now that's kind of veered away, because now everybody's starting to see a whole bunch of plot holes and a whole bunch of